Hi everyone, welcome to our session for this week 1 async session for English 9B. This week we're going to be talking about a couple of different topics. The first will be informational essays. We're going to go over what informational essays are, what they're comprised of, and what their purpose is. And then we're going to talk about how we're going to utilize that information to develop our own informational essay over the course of the next 3 units. We're also going to talk about how to employ a research question in relationship to the topic we're going to be discussing in class. So our objective today is to be able to identify and define an informational essay, as well as to create our own research questions that corresponds to our project. Now, after you finish watching this video, you are going to go to our course and you are going to click on the quizzes tab at the top of the course. It's going to ask you for an access code. And what I'm going to do over the course of this video is give you the letters for that access code. Now, I would like you to write these down as I go so that you aren't going back into the video trying to search for them, okay? The very first letter of our access code is the letter K, and the second letter is the letter I. So you want to write both of those down someplace useful, and then as you hear corresponding letters given to you, you're going to continue to write those down until you have one word. They will always be all lowercase, and there will never be spaces involved in the word, okay? So we're going to get started. We're going to talk first about informational essays and then about research questions and then ending with developing our own question. All right, so here we are. We're going to talk about informational text first and what informational writing is before we talk specifically about our project. So you can see the objective already reviewed at the top of the screen. And then a breakdown of informational text. So informational writing is true and based on facts, and it informs the reader. So we're typically looking for specific information when we use an informational text. I mean, it's right there in the title of the text, right? Informational. So informational writing is going to be based on truth, and it's going to be based on facts, and we're going to be informed about something. Secondly, we have listed a few ideas of things that qualify as informational text. These are things that you probably use daily: manuals, news articles, recipes, movie reviews. I use recipes all the time. If you guys are cooks or you have parents or siblings who are cooks, you might find that they use recipes all the time. But then we also have biographies. I already mentioned news articles. So if you ever look at the news on your phone or on the computer, or maybe you guys still subscribe to a print newspaper, scientific and historical reports, workplace and functional writing. So if you ever had to, change a tire and you needed your manual to do that, that would be functional writing because it's teaching us something. Informational essays, which is what we're focusing on specifically this lesson, which writing that explains a certain topic to a reader, or consumer documents, writing that provides information for buyers and users involved in commerce. So that would be, if you were going to buy, let's say, a new car and you wanted to go on Consumer Reports to determine which cars were the highest rated, you would use that writing or that breakdown of those reports to help guide your decision, and that's informational in nature. So for our unit, for our first project, which you're going to be working on in Unit 1, Unit 2, and then submitting for grading in Unit 3, we are going to be writing an informational essay. And in that informational essay, you are going to describe your topic and provide details about that topic. So your topic is going to be to research a famous historical event or figure that interests you and that you do not know much about. In writing this informational essay, I'm going to encourage you to develop a research question because you're hopefully going to choose a topic that you are already knowledgeable of, but maybe unfamiliar with the way the events unfolded or the person's life unfolded. And in that research, you are going to find information to share with your reader. So what we're going to do next is spend some time talking about how to develop that research question.
To our async session for this week. Today we're going to be talking about research questions. Our objective is to generate a direct, specific question to guide our research. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, what is a research question, or why do I need a research question? Well, a research question is designed to guide your research. It's designed to help you focus your research and understand what direction you want to go with your research. Are there good or bad research questions? Absolutely. We want our research questions to lead us somewhere. So we want to avoid yes and no types of questions. It doesn't help us if the answer to our question is yes or the answer to our question is no, because it's not going to take us anywhere. We want to be able to use our question to take us to the next level of our topic. So what is the criteria for a research question? Well, first of all, it should be a question. Like, that's pretty self-explanatory, right? Secondly, it must be directive, meaning that it must take us somewhere, and then it must be specific. If it's too broad of a question, we're going to wind up with way too much information about our question to really narrow it down to a 3 to 5 page paper like we're writing.
Now moving on to the next section of our video, we are going to begin developing our own research questions using the criteria for the project you're going to be working on in the first 3 units of class. So keep in mind those basic elements of research questions that we talked about early in the video. We're going to employ those techniques in creating our own research questions. All right, now we're going to start talking about how to write a research question in regards to the prompt we're being given for our informational essay in units 1, 2, and 3. Now we have 3 units to work on this essay, and you will be submitting it in unit 3 in lesson 13. So you're going to work on the essay this whole week and all of next week, and then you'll submit it in unit 3. So the prompt asks us to research a famous historical event or figure that interests you and that you do not know much about. Okay, so what I did before I started taping this video is I wrote down a list of people and things I am intrigued by but that I don't know very much about. And the reason I'm asking you to choose something that you don't know very much about is so that you can learn something new and that can fuel your research, but also to help you pick something that you're curious about. If we're writing about something we know everything about already, then it's not going to help expand our ideas, right? So we're going to be writing this informational essay about this historical figure or event. Now, we want to make sure that we're also thinking about, as we're doing our research, why this person or this event is an important part of history and why it's important to remember. That's the ultimate goal of our essay, is to disseminate that information and to identify who this person was and what their importance is in history. So I had made a list, and it was full of various people and things, but I had put Harriet Tubman down because a movie is out about her life, and I realized I haven't seen the movie yet, but I don't know very much about her, and I would love to know more about her and what drove her passion and her desire to help other people during her life. So I made this T chart, and it's a T chart because those black lines look like T's, right? So I made the T chart, and on the left side I put what I know, and then on the right side I put what I want to know. So the things that I knew about Harriet Tubman were that she was part of the Underground Railroad. I knew that she helped slaves escape to freedom. I also knew that she was an escaped slave herself, and that she was important in the abolitionist movement to abolish slavery. Those are really the only things I knew about her. I wanted to learn more about her, so then on the right side, I wrote the things that I want to know. Now, the reason I'm asking you to break these ideas up is because we're going to use what I want to know to help develop a research question. A research question, if you remember previously in the video, should be directive. It should help you begin doing your research by helping you guide your research with that question. So I'm not going to use the information that I already know. I want to figure out, I'm going to take the information that I already know and then develop leading questions about what I might learn about her. So I know she's part of the Underground Railroad, so I want to know what impact she had on the Underground Railroad. Did she help start the Underground Railroad? Was she just one of the conductors in the Underground Railroad? What was her role? And what impact did that role have? How did the Underground help progress the abolitionist cause? I know she was an abolitionist. I know she was super involved in that movement. So I'm curious if they worked together, if the Underground helped progress that cause through rescuing slaves from slavery. And then I want to know how many slaves did she help escape, and then I want to know how it worked. So I'm kind of marrying Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad here because she is so well known for that role in her life that I'd like to know more about her role in that work. And to understand what she did, I have to understand how the railroad worked, right? So, my question then, I'm going to take that information and I'm going to condense it down into one question. And the question I wrote down is, what role did Harriet Tubman play in the Underground Railway, and what role did she play in the abolitionist movement and in the Civil War? So, I'm focused on her, but I'm also taking the ideas a little bit further and progressing, like what the importance of that railroad was and how it helped implement changes during that time period through the movement and through the Civil War. So the question doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be totally full of everything that you write down and what you want to know, but that's just to help you as a springboard of places to start. So now my question's the leading question. I can go in and I can begin doing research. I can find out what role she played in the Underground Railroad, and I can determine what that looked like for her. And then I can go further into her life, into the abolitionist movement, and into the Civil War. So by answering the question of what role she played, I'm also going to be answering the question of how that Underground Railroad worked and how many people she helped save in that progress. And then what role did she play in the abolitionist movement? Well, I had a question about the connection between that railroad and the abolitionist cause, and then the Civil War, because she did live quite long in life. I know that she lived well into the early 1900s. So she was alive during the Civil War, and I imagine, based on her work in the abolitionist movement, that she was also involved in the Civil War as well. So those are that's all information that I don't really know the answer to, but my question is going to lead me to answers, and then I might, from what I learn about her, have even more questions that develop from that. But we're going to talk next week a lot about thesis statements and outlining about utilizing the information that we find to build those essays. So when we get to that point, we can take the information that we learn from our research question and start implementing it into our writing. So what I would suggest after you write your research question is to take it and put it at the top of a page on your computer, and that's like your note-taking page. When you begin answering those questions, you're going to include the information that you find that help you answer those questions in that note-taking and in that source information page, so you can keep track of where you find your information. All right, so the last two letters of your access code are N, like Nancy, N, and G, like ginormous. So you're going to N and G. So write those down next to the other letters that I've already given you. And what you're going to do now is you're going to go to the course, and you're going to click on the quizzes tab, and you're going to click on the quiz for this week, and you're going to answer the questions based on what you've watched here today. So my goal for you at the end of this lesson is that you have taken what you have learned and you're going to write your own research question. So that's going to be one of the quiz questions when you get to that point and when you're done watching the video. So I encourage you to do that right now, and so that it's all done and ready to go when you get to the quiz, okay? All right, if you have any questions or need any assistance with these steps, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you so much. Have a great day.